Hello and welcome to part 5 of the Knit the No Frills sweater by PetiteKnit with me. Part of my Learn to Knit or Beginner Knitters series. I've just come on to do a little introduction as I'm about to pick up for the sleeves. That's the next part, so hopefully your sweater's looking very much like mine, although mine's been screwed from my bag for a bit, so it's a little bit crinkled, as it were. But yes, so we have cast on, done our ribbing for the neckline, done all our raglan increases, finished the body and the body ribbing and the cast off. And the next stage is to do the sleeves. So we're very, very close to finishing this project now. And yeah, I'm very excited to have this off the needles. So shall we go ahead now and get started on the sleeves, and I will show you how to do that. Well, here we are. I've got my needles ready for the picking up of the sleeve. I hope that you can see me okay. The lighting's okay. I'm kind of being blinded by my lamp on my desk here, but it was the easiest way for me to get the lighting right for you. So hope that's okay. It's very hard to determine on the screen when you're being blinded. So I have looked at the pattern. We need the needles that we use for the main stockinette portions. That's the larger needles that you're using. In my case, that's a 4mm. And I am going to look what the pattern says. And then we're going to pick up these stitches, so it doesn't matter which sleeve you start on. And I'll just get a beginning of round marker, won't be 1 second. So here we are. I've just got a simple marker for beginning of round. I've got my needles ready, and I'm going to take the stitches off these cables now. I'm hoping it's going to be quite straightforward, but you never know. So I'll just undo the end here. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to do this very carefully. If you want to make it a lot easier, you can just put a needle on the end of here. As you can see, I'm just literally transferring all these stitches, and I'm doing this in a purl-wise fashion. It's a little bit more tricky because I've not bothered to put a needle on the end of here. I just didn't want to get that out of the cupboard. And these have quite a thick end, so it's not too hard to get it off the cable without dropping them. But you do whatever method is going to be easiest for you. I'm hoping this cable's not too long. I normally like to do my sleeves on 12 inches. I think actually I have got a 12-inch 4mm fixed circular needle. This is from my interchangeable set, but that one is wooden needles, so I would worry about the tension being different from the body. So for now, I'm going to use these, and I'll see how I get on, because if you see the cable, I think it's the 14-inch one I'm using here. Just let me check. Yeah, it's a 14-inch cable, and then I think each of these needles are 2 inches. They are smaller from my small interchangeable set. As I say, the light's shining right in my face, so it's very difficult to actually see on the camera if you can see this okay. So I suppose I'll only be able to tell when I'm back on editing. I'm trying my best to stay in the centre and not look at the light, but it's quite difficult. I just wanted it to be nice and bright so that you can see. Yeah, when you're doing sleeves, most of the times you pick up your stitches like this, then you pick up some extra stitches where we cast off under the arm when we were splitting the sleeves. And then you generally do some form of decreases to give a bit of shape to the sleeve. And dependent on the pattern will depend on the rate of decreases that you need to do, or sometimes you'll just knit straight, or you'll do like a bell sleeve, so you would do increases. But I think this one will just be straight or decreases from the looks of what it looks like in the pattern. Hopefully I'll be able to work with this cable that I'm using and it's not too long, but like I say, if there is a lot of decreases, I may well need to transfer this as I get further down the sleeve, if it's very, very hard to knit in comfortably. I mean, if you're using magic loop, then you wouldn't have that issue. Sorry again for the clanging. Oh. Sometimes it's a bit difficult because it's hanging over the side of the desk, because I've got, you know, quite a lot of fabric knit up now on this. And there we have it. Move that out the way. And here we have all our stitches are back on the needle. And I hope you can see that clearly, if I can move my ends out the way. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to pick up stitches in this section here. Now they can end up with, and it still happens to me now, you can end up with holes under the arms. Now a lot of people, what they tend to do is they'll read what's said in the pattern of how many stitches to pick up for their size, and then they'll pick up one extra. With some of the t-shirts and tops I've been doing recently, I've noticed that if I do pick up an extra stitch in the side, it creates a hole rather than resolving it. If there is holes when you have picked up your stitches and you do have them there, generally you've got some ends to weave in inside and you can just use them to sew it up. It's not difficult. So I don't worry too much about it now, because I know that I can go and fix that with my ends afterwards anyway. And yeah, like I say, it's a fine line between picking up an extra stitch and it being perfect and filling in the gap, or noticing when you're picking up the stitch that it's going to actually cause a worse hole. With this being a denser fabric, I do think that I probably could get away with picking up an extra stitch. So for my size in the pattern, I need to pick up 4 stitches under the arm, and I am probably on this occasion going to pick up an extra stitch either side, but I will have a go and see how that affects the fabric. Now I'm looking here for where I've cast off, and I don't know if you can see this, but I'll try and show you on one of these. So what I'm aiming for is to pick up 2 legs of a stitch like this, and if you do that in between the 2 columns there, it does actually look pretty neat. Well, that's what I've found so far. So And what you do, if you do pick up the extra stitches on your second round, you just decrease those by knitting 2 together, which we've done earlier in the pattern. So I'm just thinking where to start here. I'm thinking of trying there. Like I say, if it's not too big of a deal, if it does end up being any holes, then you can see. Now, can you see? I'm just going to show you this. That's making quite a big gap there, which is rather annoying. So I'm not actually going to go in there. I'm going to go in there and see how we get on. Oh yeah, that looks much better. So that was stitch 1. I'll just show you that again. Actually, I'll start that again so that you can see me, because I didn't explain that, did I? And we haven't done this before. So once you find out where the beginning of your cast off is and where you're going to pick up, so I'm going in here. I hope you can see this. Then you just get your yarn, leave a bit of a tail and hook it round, and then you pull it through. And then keep hold of both of these and the tail, because otherwise it will just pull through quite easily. And then that's my second one. And there's the third. And that would be the fourth. Then I'm just going to knock that off. See, if you look, there is going to be a definite hole here, so it might not be too bad when I tighten it up, to be fair. Because sometimes when you tighten it up and you knit your next row, then it's not as bad. 2, that's 3, 4. Now looking at my knitting here, I'm tempted to pick up a 5th stitch, which is there. And that seems to be right. So let me just double check in the pattern. No, it definitely says to do 4 stitches. But looking at my knitting, that's where I'm comfortable doing that. So I have to remember that I've got 1 stitch to decrease at this side. That side I just picked up the 2. But the pattern asked me before, and I've ended up picking up 5. It is a bit of play it by ear when you're doing this. And then what I need to do is, so we're working the round now in stockinette stitch. That's just knit, knit, knit until the sleeve measures a set length, or the length you're happy with. And we're going to do a decrease on every 6th or 5th round for a total number of decreases. And then it does tell you you're going to reduce the number of stitches to a set amount dependent on your size. So for mine, it's a decrease every 5th round. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knit through this first round to show you. Then I will do this decrease. So this is round 1. I hope what I did there at the underarm did actually make sense. I think if you can see, I probably have, you know, I've obviously picked up 1 extra here, but it does look as though that will, and that would probably be equivalent to me picking up there, but picking up that one, I only had, oh, I suppose if I'd have picked up 2 legs there, maybe it would have been better. I don't know. But sometimes, like I say, it is just a case of trial and error, really, to find out what works for you and what you find easiest. I don't find it too hard to close the holes up when I'm sewing in my ends. So here we are now. I'm almost at the point where I'm at the end of the stitches that I left on hold for the sleeve. There's 2 more left there. And as you can see, this is the gap where I then picked up stitches under the sleeve, and there's my 2 stitches before my beginning of round marker. Now what I'm going to do, I'll just knit 1 more stitch. I'm going to try and knit these 2 stitches very, very tightly, but I'm also going to make sure that I catch my tail as well to try and keep it as tight as possible. So this is that one, and when I go into this one, I'm going to really tighten it up, really try and tighten, and then at that point I'll wrap that round as well. And I try and keep it very tight when I do my next. There probably still will be a small gap in this particular one, but that's nothing really to be worried about. And I give my tail a bit of a tuck there, and as you can see, there is a very tiny hole there. Maybe if I'd have picked up there, it may have done that, I don't know. Now I'm on my second row, so what I am going to do is I am going to knit that stitch and that stitch together, because I did pick up 1 extra at this side. Sometimes that is a better way of, if you look at this side, you'll be able to see the difference here. There's quite a hole there. It's quite significant, which I'm shocked about, really. This side, it probably won't even need sewing up once we've knit a bit more of the sleeve and we have a look at it. But I just wanted to show you the difference there and the technique that you can try if you feel that you're going to have a big hole there. So what I'm going to do now is I've got to knit another 3 rows after this row, so 5 in total, and then I will come back and I will show you what to do on the decrease rounds. I have done 4 rounds. I now need to do a decrease round for my size. So I've got to the beginning of round marker, and this is how it says to do it. It's knit 2 together. We've done this before. Just put your needle in like that, wrap it around, and there we go, knit 2 together. And then I'm just going to knit a couple more stitches, because for the decrease round you just do a decrease at the very beginning of the row and at the very end. And what I'm going to do is put a light bulb stitch marker here. Now what that does is that's actually on the decrease, and then I know that I need to do 4 more rows, and once I've done the 4 rows then I'll do another decrease, and I've got that there. I can easily count my rows, and then I will also be able to count easily how many decreases I have done, because it does give you a number of rows to do the decreases on. So hopefully that'll make it quite simple. I won't need to refer to the pattern very often. I'll just need to look at my light bulb stitch markers, keep the number of rounds in mind that I need to do, and then it's a lot easier to take, well, this is getting quite a big project now, but to take your project out and about, to craft groups, that sort of thing, or if you're just going out for a coffee or whatever, or just to be able to knit on it without looking at the pattern is quite nice sometimes. And here we are now, we're at the last few stitches before the beginning of round marker, and we knit 2 together, but on this occasion we knit through the back loop. Now I'm not sure if we've done that sort of decrease before, so I bring my needles a little bit closer so that you can see, and instead of going through the front here like that, what am I saying? Instead of going through the front like this, I am going to go through the back 2 loops of my stitch. Hope you can see that clearly. Wrap around, and there we go, that's knit through the back loop. So we do a standard knit 2 together at the beginning of the round, and then we do a knit 2 together through the back loop at the end of the round, and that's a decrease round. Then you have to do your set number of rows for your pattern, for your size, I mean, not for your pattern, for your size. I'll just knit a couple of stitches here so that we're past. Okay, and I'll meet you back here once I have completed all the decrease rounds. Here we are, I've finished the sleeve. As you can see, a bit hard to show fully on camera, but I've put my light bulb stitch markers in every single one of the increases so I could easily follow that, and I didn't need to refer to the pattern. And now I am going to do the next stage in the instructions, which you need to do a decrease round, and then you need to do 1 by 1 ribbing, and then I'll come back to show you when I've done that and I can do the bind off. I have now finished my cuff. As you can see, I've done 15 rounds, which is of 1 by 1 ribbing. Now I'm going to do the bind off. Now for the sleeve cuff, I don't like it to be too tight, and I am quite a tight knitter, so I am going to do the stretchy bind off that I like, which is to knit through the back loop. Rather than passing over your stitch, which I've shown you before, but I will show again. Now I am going to do this in pattern. So the first stitch is a knit, then I'm going to do my purl. So that's 2 stitches that I have worked, and those 2 are just going to be knit through the back loop. So the way that I do that is by the 2 stitches that are on my left, I do get mixed up with my left and right. The 2 stitches that are on my right needle here, I'll just pick them up this way, and then I can easily then just knit that through the back loop. I hope that was clear. Next stitch is a knit, and I'm going to do them all this way. Sometimes I do a half stretchy, and sometimes I like to do a full stretchy, but on the cuffs I don't want them to be restricting in any way, because I'll just find it really uncomfortable to wear. Now I don't think that this stretchy bind off looks as neat as a standard bind off, so if my standard bind off was stretchy, then I would do that. The other alternative, and something I do like, what have I done here, do like doing sometimes, is a for some reason I'm not, it's because I'm talking and I'm not looking what I'm doing. For some reason these stitches do not want to be knit through the back loop. It's because I'm catching something there on my needle. This is the thing when you're using wooden needles and you're used to metal, which slide a lot easier. Yeah, I would do, if my standard bind off was stretchy enough, then that is what I would do, but unfortunately, because I think it is a bit neater than this, but alas, It is not that way. Another option I could do, and this might be a tip for you if you know you're a tighter knitter as well. I don't know what I'm doing here today. I'm picking up. You can actually go up a needle size when doing your bind off as well, or a couple of needle sizes. That's another way to counteract if you're a tighter knitter for your bind off. I'm not making this bind off look very easy here, but it generally is most of the time. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Clearly not in the usual rhythm. So I'm just going to continue round now. So I'm knitting the knits, purling the pearls, and then I am knitting these through the back loop. Well, one of my stitches has gone a bit funky there. I'll have to check that after. Now, once this is done, this is the first sleeve totally finished. What I will probably do then is go on to pick up my second sleeve, and I'm not going to film that because you've seen me do the first one, and it's exactly the same process for both sleeves. So if you need help again with that, you can always go ahead and watch this video again to remind yourself of all the steps. What was I going to say as well? Oh yeah, and then the next video will just be a final try on and blocking. So once both sleeves are finished, all you need to do is sew in your ends, and then once the ends are sewn in, you need to block your garment. And I will come back in the next video when I am ready to do that. No promises of when that'll be, mind you. Now I've just got one stitch left on my needle, and I am going to cut a longish tail about there, so I've got plenty to sew in my end, and then it's just a case of pulling it through and then tightening it up. And then what you can do, if you can see on here, there is a bit of a gap there. Now all you need to do is use this tail when you sew it in. First of all, do a little loop around the top there, and then sew it down on the inside, just to neaten up that little edge there. But as you can see, it's a nice stretchy cuff, so I know. Now there is a little bit of flaring, if you can see, because I've done the full thingy, but when I block this, I will be able to pin it so it looks a bit neater, and I'll be able to open up the ribs slightly, and hopefully that will be neat enough, but then still have the stretch I need to get my arm. And if you can see, I can easily get it onto my arm and my wrist. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. I will, like I say, I'm going to go and knit my second sleeve now, and then I'll come back to you in the final episode of this series of the No Frills sweater, and just talk to you a bit. It'll be a brief one, talking through blocking and showing you the final garment on me. Thanks for watching. Bye.